So obfuscation is defined as render obscure, unclear, or unintelligible. In coding and software development, it is actually very useful, as it will make it harder for people to understand your code and maybe reverse engineer it or crack it and do whatever you may want to do with it. For example, in a game like COD Zombies, there are players who will go through the code and attempt to figure out or reverse engineer the conditions for the Easter eggs. This is unfortunately the consequences of a game just being on PC, because just that alone makes it a very hard battle. When seeing the word Brazil in the Tekken 8 code, that was like a soft confirmation that Eddie was coming. Then we've seen things like fighting styles or other locations, which again leads to hints at what's to come. Because unfortunately, a lot of code for DLC is in live versions of the game. While it might not be the complete code and the complete everything onto it, there are still parts of it within the code. However, data mines and leaks aside, obfuscation also benefits in just overall trying to prevent or slow down malicious or bad actors. The harder it is for them to understand the code and what's going on in your code, the harder it is going to be for them to break the code. May it be for nefarious reasons or really horny cool mods. Now, when you apply all this obfuscation stuff to your monetization strategy, simply put, I hate it. It is just predatory and awful. If you played pretty much any game at this point, you've seen it. It's where you see this currency that you buy with your real dollars, and then you use that currency to interact with the shop. It is your itchy and scratchy dollars. So now what this does is it makes it unclear on how much you're actually paying to buy something. Even 3 years of Lost Ark, I can't look at an item at the shop and look at the crystals and be like, oh hey, that's X amount of dollars. This way you're a little less aware of how much you're actually spending in the game. They also like to inflate the numbers. Like if you pay 10 bucks, you're getting like 3,000, 4,000 coins. So it kind of mentally makes you feel like, hey, I'm getting a lot for this, or that I have a lot of coins. But in reality, that's like $3. But I think the most important thing to them is really the prices that they get to choose. So if you pay your 20 bucks for your 4,000 coins, whatever you want might be 4,300. This results in players pretty much always having to put in more money than what they need. This way they have currency left over, and that leftover currency incentivizes people to buy more down the line, because you're going to see things later and you're like, well, I have this many coins here, I don't want to let that go to waste because I already put the money into this game. I've already spent some money and I don't want that to go to waste, so I'm just going to put a little bit more in and try to get it. But the problem is you're never probably going to end up at zero again. You're probably always going to have extra, and this is a vicious circle. And that is the design. They want that extra bit of currency in there for you to feel like, oh, well, I already have some there. Now, there is an instance, there is a situation where a monetization obfuscation can be a good thing. Okay, well, maybe good might be going a little too far, but there is a reason or a purpose for it. And that is a game where a player can earn the premium currency that they could use. This is something you're going to see very common in gacha games, as you still want free-to-play players to get in the gacha and hopefully get a gambling addiction. So in a situation like that, it helps maintain and govern the rate of which a free-to-play player can actually earn the gacha. However, in a situation where you can only get your premium currency through swiping your credit card like Royal Crystals, then suddenly there is no actual real reason besides predatory practices for it to exist. So I recently had a conversation with a friend about Once Human because we were talking about their gacha system. Because that game basically always has like 2 gacha banners going at once. And we were both talking about how, hey, we really like the stuff in this one, but then we were like, well, how bad really is this? And let me tell you, it's pretty bad. Let's talk about how confusing this gacha can be. To click the button to basically attempt the roll to even figure out how much it costs for the rolls. It is 1,600 per 10 pulls, and you get a guaranteed gem every 20 rolls. And what gems are is they are your pity currency. You have a chance to get them during your rolls, but also you get them every X amount of rolls. And so every item in the gacha has a gem cost. The major item, the vehicle, the most expensive one in there, is 10 gem. And so for $100, you get 78, 80 points. So roughly, you can expect yourself to spend about $400 to pity your vehicle, because the chances of actually pulling it are extremely low. Even just pulling a gem out of RNG is extremely low, and there is like a minor refund system to getting dupes. So if you get lucky, you could be spending a little bit less. And then somehow I showed a picture of the skin in the car to a whale friend of mine in Lost Ark. In a matter of days, she downloaded the game and did the gacha. And yeah, she said she spent over 400 for it, and then she spent like even more on all the housing stuff. But yeah, like in all seriousness, it's super expensive. The goal is for you to get unlucky and pity it. And because you have to go through like many layers of math to figure it out, maybe you get it wrong. But even if you do get it wrong and you've like 80% of the way through, you're going to probably spend the rest of the money to get the rest of it. And that is just part of the strategy. And for fun here, we actually have a super recent example of obfuscation and data mining and reverse engineering. So as a lot of you might know about me by now is I love fighting games. And while I might not be particularly fond of Mortal Kombat, I still follow Mortal Kombat to some degree. Well, even if I didn't, my entire feed was just clogged up with this fella called Floyd. So all the way back in 2023, there was a character named Floyd found the code. And as early back as 2019, Ed Boon said that there was going to be a pink ninja. And in the latest game here, Floyd was actually found in the code, and then in one patch, he just went missing. And then he came back again. And also, people were quick to make the connection that Floyd was the pink ninja, which is a very Ed Boon thing to do since they have another purple ninja named Rain, so they have Pink Floyd and Purple Rain. It turns out they finally added Floyd. So to my understanding, how this was designed is you have a 2% chance to get Floyd to pop up at the start of your match or at the start of the tower and give you a hint. There are 37 hints in total, and these are all hints for something that you're supposed to do in a fight. If they do the challenge properly, they get a Floyd icon at the end of the match and also like a sound cue. But as you can see, these hints were extremely vague and they required a lot of testing, Q&A, trying to figure them out and even just seeing what they were. And this is where reverse engineering, peeking at code, cheat engine, and all that kind of stuff comes into play, along with, of course, obfuscation. Now, the problem is that these are text hints that they give you in the game, and this code has to be, that actual word for word has to be in the code for it to show what it's trying to tell you. So people were able to locate these in the code. However, it wasn't right there on how to actually do it. They could, however, see parts of the code, kind of what it was referencing, what state you had to do it in. May it be a normal fight or a fatality situation. And so with the combination of overall crowdfunding and crowdsourcing of the entire MK community and just being able to kind of have a good look at things via the code, it took 3 days or so for people to figure out everything and actually find Floyd. Unfortunately, they don't unlock the character, they get the skin and they get a lot of cosmetics and also the stage. Overall, there's more to the whole Floyd situation, but I think this was a good example of like obfuscation and also why there is some sort of need for it in code. Because I'm pretty sure like the devs were probably like intently watching the community, seeing how they figure it out and how they go through it. And they probably would have been really sad if it was all in plain code and people figured it out in a matter of minutes. And this was obfuscated enough for people to have a great 3-day journey where Mortal Kombat was like super popular. Everybody was talking about it. And it was just a journey for people to go through. And now when the next MK game comes out, people will be wondering, well, when's Floyd? But yeah, just a little fun story about obfuscation. So yeah, overall, there is a lot of really good use case scenarios for obfuscation. However, when it is used in your monetization model and the only way you can get said currency is through paying for your real life dollars, it is just predatory garbage and there is no excuse for it. If everything in your in-game shops had a dollar value attached to it instead of your whatever obfuscated currency, I guarantee you all these developers and publishers make a lot less money. Because just by looking at it, they know the cost of it, and also it negates that situation of having leftover currency from your last purchase that's going to try to incentivize you to go buy more because you have money laying around still that you're not going to use otherwise. So yeah, that was a little rant about obfuscation in gaming.